I've been a doctor for 10 years and I am ready to give it up. Like, I'm ready to throw in the towel. I am done. And I've just come off the back of working a weekend shift, and it just feels like it's time in my soul to give it up. But is that the right decision to make? And in this video, I'm going to dive into how often I've been thinking about quitting, where I am with quitting, and hopefully this can be of use to you if you're on a similar journey and on a similar path, trying to figure out when to give up your 9 to 5. So yeah, stick around and let's dive into it. My name's Remy. This is a very, very new YouTube channel. I have filmed a few videos about my own personal journey, about how I'm getting from where I am in this current season to where I want to be in the future, to actualizing what my vision board looks like. And I'm just talking about all things that are related to my decision making, the things that I'm reading, the steps that I'm taking, in hopes to motivate myself to keep it on. Also to motivate you to create a community of people, of women, of mothers who are in a season of change, just so that we can all do it together. I'm talking about my profession, my medical career, being a doctor, and how I'm fed up. Like, no joke, I am fed up. And anyone who's spoken to me in real life in the last year, at least, will know that I am ready to give up my job. And this is quite risky as a doctor to come online and say this, because, you know, it just doesn't fit with the narrative with which people have of you, which training tutors have of you, and it just isn't really the done thing. But yeah, what can I say? I'm making this channel to be open, to be honest, and to be vulnerable. Every year we get given surveys, and one of the ones that I did this year was, how often have you thought about quitting medicine? Every day, every week, every month. And like, I had to tick every day because that's the God's honest truth. Just so I can give you a bit of my journey so that you know where I'm at in my career. I graduated 10 years ago, so I've been a practicing clinical doctor for 10 years. I did my 2 years of internship foundation training, and then I got straight onto my specialty training, which is obstetrics and gynecology, and I've been doing that for the last 8 years. I've had 2 maternity leaves and I work less than full time, so I work 80%. I have a day off a week, which I kind of use to like come back to myself, give to my kids, sort my home out. Like, you don't want to see what my house looks like outside of this camera. In med school, I was fairly sure that I wanted to be a GP because I knew that I wanted to be a wife, I wanted to be a mum, and it didn't feel like those things were compatible with being a specialty doctor or being in a very busy specialty. I went to a couple of GP shows as a student, and I was like, no, this is not me. I genuinely want to just look after women. Like, the thought of having male patients, even sometimes children, I was like, nah, it's just not me. I knew from early on that I definitely wanted to go into women's health. I was a huge fan of Grey's Anatomy, and I loved Dr. Shepherd, I think her name was, but she was the OBGYN, double board certified. So I was like, yeah, that's the person I want to channel. And I remember even pre-med school, like really looking up the training pathways. Like, I've always been slightly obsessive about any decisions I make, and I was therefore obsessive about being an obs and gynae doctor. So every opportunity I had, I would do like women's health research. I went and did a master's in women's health, and lo and behold, I got onto the specialty of my dream. And very quickly into it, I was like, ugh, have I made the right decision? Because like, in theory, you can like, you know, what I did like is all of the topics around women's health and having all of that knowledge. But then in practice, it can feel very different. You know, you're working sometimes 60-hour weeks, you're doing long days, you're doing nights, you're really quickly flipping between the two and often feeling like you don't have a life to catch up. But anyway, so after my first year or two of training, I had a daughter, I went on mat leave, I enjoyed it, but then during my maternity leave, I got my exams done. And then I went back to work and I was really pondering, like, is this my life? Am I really going to be working towards being a consultant, working weekends, working nights, even as a consultant, being a really hard working consultant, and giving up my free time as I go into my 40s, my 50s and my 60s? Is this really the future that I want for myself? But because I do enjoy aspects of my job, I genuinely just very quickly got distracted by these thoughts and just dove in, became a registrar, went on to have another child, had more exams during that maternity leave, and then bam, all of those thoughts came crashing back down, associated with low mood, anxiety, and just really thinking, like, is this the right career choice for me? But I was in the thick of my exams, really worrying, like, am I gonna pass it? There's all these statistics about being a black doctor, a black trainee, not getting through exams. Am I going to, like, fall to that, or am I gonna get through? So with all of these things going round and round and round in my head, I booked for careers counselling, and I went through that process of really identifying what it is that I genuinely enjoy and like when I do my job. And the things that were true sort of 10, 15 years ago still hold true to today. Like, I really enjoy serving women, I really enjoy being there for them, educating them, and being in a lot of women's lives present for their special moments. But it's just really hard to do that within the constraints of a system that doesn't allow you to take a break, a system that keeps you on a treadmill, that keeps you checking boxes and doesn't really allow you have autonomy, flexibility, or thrive. So those were the key words that kept coming back to me. Do I have autonomy? Is there flexibility? And I get a tiny bit of flexibility in that I'm less than full time, but I definitely don't have autonomy. So through the end of that process, I thought, you know what, I'm not going to quit just yet. So this was January 23. I was like, you know what, I'm not going to quit just yet, but I am going to change my sort of chosen area, specialty area, from being very hardcore on the shop floor to thinking about things that I can do in a more office setting. And that's really what's kept me going for the last year. But genuinely, most weeks I'm like, am I gonna stay, and am I gonna go? And I thought I would break down my personal sort of pros and cons list in an effort to give you some inspiration and just let you really understand what are your push factors, what are your pull factors, and what do you need to do to make the decision that's right for you. And also there's a thing about leaving medicine, right? And you can leave medicine. Like, I know lots of people now are leaving straight after medical school, which is great. There are people who are leaving after F1 and 2. There are people who leave after GP training, which is 3 years. And there are people who do leave after specialty training. And because I'm now almost 5 years through a 7-year program, my questions to myself will be very different to someone who is at the end of their F2 year or at the end of med school. And I do think when you're looking online for content about should I leave medicine, should I not, actually my cohort is very underrepresented because it just doesn't, number one, happen that often, or if it does, maybe we're not the generation that will go online and discuss it. I don't know. But this I'm going to dive into my personal sort of push factors, pull factors, and at the end of the video, I'll let you know where I'm going to sit. Or maybe I shouldn't, because again, if my supervisors ever see this video, how much more will they then I don't know. Well, my main reasons to leave are lifestyle. I obviously grew up knowing that I wanted to be a doctor, and I think everyone was like, oh, you're gonna work long hours, blah blah blah, and I just ignored them because, you know, I was 17, I was 18, I was bright-eyed, I knew everything, right? And I was like, no, that's fine, I'm happy to give up 1 weekend a month. Like, you know, you've got 3 weekends in the month. But yeah, as I've gotten older, as there are more birthday parties, as there are more things that I'd love to do, and I think I've said on this channel before, like, really being part of a community is what I'm after. But giving up my weekends just doesn't fit with that narrative anymore. Like, I want my weekends back. I want to spend my nights in my bed. I want to have flexibility over the lifestyle I lead. I want to go on holiday when I want. I don't want to be asking people for permission. I don't want to be swapping shifts on a rota. And as you can tell from that, my desires have changed. Like, I genuinely thought I would be that person who was happy being a career woman. And I am, but I am also like, no, I want my kids to know me, see me, and I really want to be effective in their lives. I really want to be present. I want to be present at all their like extracurricular things. And these are things that can be done. And I know women who have gone before me in my field who have done it really well. But I just want more. And I don't feel like the way the job is set up at the moment is going to allow me live the lifestyle that I want for myself. And then the next thing is like being overworked and underpaid. And as you'll know, in the UK, we've been striking as junior doctors for over a year. Consultants have been striking. Everyone's very, very, very vocal about how little we get paid in comparison to our counterparts in the Americas, Canada, Australia, the Middle East, and it's very clear that we're underpaid. We live in a very high tax system. I would be happy to pay my taxes if it was going to the people that needed it, if it was going to fix the roads that they claim they're going to fix, or pay for a good healthcare system which is broken, or the education system. The teachers were striking. So we're in a high tax system, and the money's not going to where it needs to go. So then you're like, well, I'm overworked and I'm underpaid, and then my money doesn't stretch very far at all. And again, I've mentioned I've got 2 girls who are not going to feed themselves. And those are kind of my main reasons, and they're big reasons. And I recently signed up for coaching. I'd had sort of one session ages ago, and then had to take a break. And my key words are flexibility and autonomy. And that's what I want to go into my future. I want to be able to, take my kids to tournaments or workshops, or just do whatever I want to do, and obviously make money. But yeah, my reasons to stay are also just as strong and just as pulling, and they are currently stability. If you are a doctor, most people around the world will tell you that you've got a job for life, and you do, because you can go anywhere in the world and you can make money. And in the UK, you definitely do have stability within the NHS, within a training program. There is stability. If you get a consultant job, quite hard to fire. So you get that stability with the job. And when you become a consultant, although you're working long hours, occasionally your weeks become more predictable, which would also be quite good for sort of my family setup as well. And being a consultant in the UK would mean that you can then go anywhere in the world and work as a consultant. And then in my day-to-day job, despite all the things that I'm saying, there are still times where I just get that sliver of enjoyment, that sliver of gratitude that I am in a place where I'm delivering a service to women, and I am making a change, I'm making impact, my job has meaning. And especially where I work in London, I often do have patients that look like me, and I see the relief on their face when I walk in the room. I like that I can speak to them on a level, that I can genuinely deliver care, and leaving all of that behind does sometimes fill me with regret. Am I going to regret that decision if I leave right now? And if I were to leave right now, I'm probably leaving at a time in my career that it's then hard to return to. Whereas if I see it through to the end of my training and then I left, or I took a break, at that point, there is a way back for me. And I just think there are some times where I'm like, can I genuinely give that all up? And also talking back to being having stability, if I give it all up now, I don't have a job. I don't have a job, and the UK is expensive enough as it is. So I can't make silly decisions because I've got a husband and I've got kids, and I wish my husband could retire me, but yeah, we're not there yet. Finally, this is also future regret, because you don't really know where the NHS is going to go. You don't know if it becomes private. You don't know if the pay and the working conditions will improve. And if I jump ship now, if I burn the bridge behind me, if I burn the boat behind me, or whatever it is they call it, what will I regret it? Will I have like future FOMO when I see all my friends and colleagues who I've left behind thriving and I've made a decision that hasn't worked out? And these are all like things that I can't focus too strongly on because no one knows, and I can only make the decision with the information I have now. But these are things that also help guide my decision. Am I truly leaving medicine? And it's still a question that hangs over my head, and I can't say 100% that I'm going to leave today, but I am probably going to leave at some point. At least take a break, at least see what life is like outside of the grind of medicine. Like, this is the field I've been in since 2007 when I started med school. Like, that's a really long time, and although I'm in training at the moment, I'm gonna see it through. I'm gonna pick a job that will hopefully give me the future that I want as a consultant, but if that doesn't ring true, or my soul is still questioning what's on the other side, or feeling that the grass might be greener, then yeah, I'm gonna make that jump. So yeah, these are my musings. I hope it will kind of give you an idea or a picture into what things that you should be considering for yourself. And if you're early on in your career, and I say this a lot to my colleagues, like, if I was early on in my career, I don't think I'd think twice. Like, if I didn't have the kids, if I didn't have the mortgage, like, I think I would be more daring to leap now as opposed to leap in 2 years. So if you're early on in your career and you have those feelings now, I would be like, explore them. Like, just get to a point where you've really explored it all, and then if it doesn't work, you can come back. So my epilogue for today is my hair. I've had my hair in locks for 5 years. And I remember, again, I've mentioned in this video, I can be obsessive. I remember when I was doing the research, meeting the locticians, I was like gung-ho for 6 months, like, yes, this is gonna be my hairstyle. And when I did it, like, the response was underwhelming, to say the least. Like, I remember someone being like, "Oh, Remy, what have you done to your hair?" And I was just like, oh, I've put it in locks. And I would show people the pictures of what my hair was going to look like, and they would look at my hair and be like, maybe not. Whereas now, I can't leave my house without getting compliments about my hair. And my cousins and my sisters too have now joined me on this journey. Are like, oh, your hair is so nice, your hair is so long, your hair is so full. So it's not as long as I would like it to be, being 5 years in. But now that I'm 5 years in, the compliments have changed. People are complimenting my hair, whereas 5 years ago, they were questioning my decision. And I'm like deeping this on a life level. Like, you'll be making decisions today that people are like, why are you doing that? I can't see the picture. As long as you can see the big picture, as you can feel the big picture, then carry on. Because in 5 years' time, 3 years' time, they'll be looking at you and be like, I see it now. I didn't see it then. I see it now. I wish I had joined you then. And that's my epilogue for today. Peace.